So does everybody in the room know how to breathe? But do you know how to breathe the way you used to breathe? So studies show that up until about the age of 5 or 6, we're belly breathers. You see the picture here of this child, and you see their belly come in, they're letting it all hang out, and then you become an adult, and everybody's like, suck in your gut, don't let your muffin top show. You know, make sure that you take that deep breath, and everything that you've seen. People are leading with their chest. You see them do it in their nasal passage, right? But the problem is that that's where we access our full breath from, that provides so much nourishment and ability for our brain, for our nervous system. So we're going to talk today about how can we get back to that again, because that's really the way that our body wants to breathe. It's how we're designed to breathe, but we've gotten in the way of our proper breathing that can affect so much. So taking control of your breath and breathing like a child again will actually bring more oxygen to your brain, and that's where the processing center is, so that we can have improved memory and concentration, so we're not blanking out so much. We can have clearer thinking, faster recall, even improving our sleep. If we sleep better, don't we do better the next day? And we can think on our feet and feel rejuvenated, how important that is. It lowers our stress hormone, cortisol, which is super important when we're dealing with anything where it's going to trigger stress or anxiety. And it lowers our heart rate and our blood pressure. All of those things that we talked about in the beginning here, when I said what's happening in that moment, that heart rate, the rapid breathing, not feeling in control. So we're going to do a little exercise. This is the belly expansion exercise. What I would love for you to all do right now is take a deep inhale and really try to feel it down by your belly. So your diaphragm is like a cummerbund. It's almost like a flat pizza, and it's below your belly button, and it's right here. And the lower part of your lungs, which is the biggest part of your lungs, by the way, is down here. So really feel it expand. Put your hands there and feel your belly push out like you're blowing up a balloon. Really get that full. And now we'll know if you did it when you take a deep exhale and you really push it out. You should feel it go back in. When I do this exercise with children, sometimes we'll have them lay down and we'll put a stuffed animal on their stomach and we'll really see it rise and really see it fall. And they're just so good at this because they're still in that breathing mode. So this is something that you can do at any time that will really, we're walking around most of the time breathing to survive. But I want you to start thinking about, how can I breathe to thrive? How can I use parts of my breathing apparatus that have gone by the wayside, that have kind of been forgotten? This is going to energize you and get you with a clearer mind and a steadier body anytime that you can remember to do this. Now, who thinks about their tongue in this room very often? And I'm sorry, it's really challenging to get an appealing photo of a tongue. I worked very hard on the iStock photo trying to find something that looked at least respectable. So that's my tongue image. But when you relax your tongue, especially the back of your tongue, it really creates this cascading event in your body of relaxation, because we don't really think about our tongue. I was talking to Saint, my assistant today, and he said to me, wow, you just don't really think of it. And then all of a sudden when you're aware of it, it's kind of like your heart. You don't think about your heart beat unless you really tune into it. We don't think about what our brain is doing. And most of the time we're not realizing that our tongue could be kind of in this state of tension, and it's affecting so many things that we don't realize. So what happens when your tongue is pressed or held tight is your throat narrows, your breathing becomes shallow, your voice tightens, and the brain kind of gets this message of, things aren't so good here, we're kind of stressed out, something isn't going right. So when you relax your tongue, you lower, what's that stress hormone? Cortisol again. You get that mental chatter that can really get in the own way, that's that self-talk. There are 60,000 thoughts that run through the human mind in any given day. And studies show that about 70% of our thinking is negative. So you can imagine the percentage of mental chatter that we have to really kind of try to drown out during the day. It interrupts that feeling of spiraling emotions. When we start to get in that anxiety mode, then we awfulize, we catastrophize, we add things to it, and it can help stop that spiral. And it brings you into the present moment, which is so important. There was a book written many, many years ago by Dale Carnegie called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And one of the things that he talked about was this idea of living in day-tight compartments, that most anxiety and stress happen because we're worrying about what happened yesterday, we're worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, and we're worrying about today. And that's too much for any human to bear. To be able to compartmentalize and be fully present in any moment is one of the biggest keys to helping us not have stress, anxiety, and worry. So what we're doing here, just by relaxing our tongue and taking a breath, is telling our brain, you know what? Everything's okay. Like, we don't have to be in this fight or flight mode. And sometimes we're in that mode and we don't even realize it. Some of us are just operating in that mode all the time, and it feels normal. We forget what it's like to be in any other mode. And this can give you a psychological reset in as little as 10 seconds. I love things that work fast. I like to run behind a set, behind a stage, in a studio, wherever I am, and get my act together quickly, get my breathing together. One of the biggest things, if you get control of your breathing, everything else can fall into place, because we don't realize that we're not in control of that. So those are two things right now. Also, it improves our communication. And this is really golden for so many of my clients that rely on their speaking voice, whether they're broadcasters or public speakers or anyone that is presenting, and really us, right? Someone once said, all speaking is public speaking unless you're standing by yourself in a room talking to yourself, which I all do sometimes as well. But it makes your voice warmer, your tone lower, your speech smoother, your articulation clearer, your facial expression more natural. It helps you show up just more confident and in the moment and sounding like you are fully present and fully in charge. And when we show up and have the energy and the voice and the presence that we're in good hands with ourselves, then boy, don't people really know that they're going to be in good hands with us if they're going to trust us, because they know we trust ourselves. So let's do the mini tongue drop exercise right now. Clear the food from your mouths if you have any. I want you to relax the back of your tongue up by where the hard roof of your mouth starts to turn into your soft palate. And really just feel it relax and settle. And then now relax your jaw. And just get very aware of, I'm just gonna let it relax. And what should be happening now is I do this, and all of a sudden where I hold my tension in my shoulders around my neck, that starts to feel relaxed. It really does create that cascading event. But more importantly, it's just like a mini vacation for a second in a hectic day. And just to let yourself sit there, you can close your eyes when you do this and let yourself feel that cascade that happens. Your brain will quiet. And again, you will feel more present wherever you are. And the great thing about the tongue drop is that nobody knows what you're doing. You could sit there and you could just kind of let it go and close your eyes, and no one has any idea. So if you're really stressed out and you really need to get rid of some stressful energy, you can do the lion's breath exhale. It's going to get ugly here for a minute, and I want you to get ugly with me if you can, because it's a wonderful stress reliever. So the lion's breath is basically you're now sticking your tongue out. We're going to move our heads, and we're going to go, ah. So I'll do it for you. Ah! Ah! I feel so much better now. Your turn. Who has the confidence to do this? There you go. I knew if I challenged you, I knew you'd do it. But seriously, I mean, we're talking releasing the jaw, getting that breath back where it needs to be, opening your vocal channel, and breaking that stress loop. Now, people may think you're insane, depending on where you do this, or think you're really losing it. So I don't suggest doing this in front of too many other people, but it is beautiful when you need this. So now we're going to get more grounded now after we all just let out that. So this is going to bring your attention back to being fully present in the moment. Really just feeling the ground beneath you, getting yourself sturdy again. And this is something that will help you really feel like you're kind of getting back in control. And it's really such a simple thing. So it will calm your nervous system, stabilize your posture. It sends a message to your brain, I am balanced, I am sturdy, I am fully present. It improves mental clarity and emotional regulation. And again, it's fast. 10 to 20 seconds is all we need to do this exercise. So let's do our 20-second grounding scan. So if you don't have it already, I'd like you to put both your feet flat on the floor. And you can do this standing, but we're also sitting. And I want you to just kind of close your eyes and really get super aware of your feet. Really feel the weight of your feet resting on the floor. Feel, what does the floor feel like to you right now? And you can, now that you're sitting even, you can, what does the chair feel like to you right now? And then I would like you to drop your shoulders, lift your chest slightly. And while you're doing this and you're fully aware of being fully present at this moment in this chair with this ground under your feet, I want you to repeat over and over the anchor phrase, here, now, ready. Here, now, ready. You do this before any high-stakes situation, any time where you need to have this physical and mental reset, and you will be sending messages to your brain that all is well, I am grounded, I am sturdy, I am ready for whatever is about to happen next. So let's talk about some body language confidence. So Amy Cuddy from Harvard did this great TED Talk many, many years ago about a study that she had done where she showed that in just 2 minutes, we can change our physiology with the way that we're using our body. So you'll see the top row has high power positions and the bottom row has low power positions. So in those high power positions, when we use our body like that, again, in just 2 minutes, our testosterone level rises, which both men and women have, which is our confidence hormone, and our cortisol level, which we've been talking about, our stress hormone, plummets. But the opposite happens when we are in these lower body language modes, or I like to call them implosion. We're minimizing our space. We're minimizing ourselves. But what happens with our technology these days, when we're on our phone, we're on our iPads, our laptops, we're going into implosion mode and we don't even realize it. So if we've just made our physiology work at cortisol up and testosterone down, and now we get up to go into a business meeting or a situation or phone call, and we've just been on our phones, we're in a low body mode there. And we don't even realize it. So start to notice how you enter your next space. A lot of performers that I work with before they get in front of the camera or the stage, they're in the background, they're doing the Superman pose, they're using their space, they're feeling big, and they know that it's helping them get into that mindset of performance and of having that spark and that energy that they need to get back into a certain mode for whatever the job is that they're doing. So next is psychology and communication. So really your psychology is going to shape what is happening to you by the story that you're telling yourselves, right? And we do this all the time, by the way. We are constantly telling ourselves a story about ourselves, about what you think of me, about what this situation means, about what this person said. And so often we are making assumptions. We are working off of bad information or old information or completely incorrect information. And we're doing it all the time. Has anybody ever read the book by Malcolm Gladwell, Blink? Great book, right? How, so much of our decision making is based on just that 3 seconds or a couple of seconds of assumptions many times and things that aren't even really happening. And how you communicate with the world around you. So our communications and interpersonal skills and our relationship skills all stem from what are my communication skills internally? How am I talking to myself? What is that constant dialogue that is happening in the background? And how am I interpreting the world? And someone once said the most important thing you will ever hear is what you say to yourself. Because it doesn't really matter what others say and do, it's our interpretation of it. I'm reading a great book right now called Inner Excellence by a guy named Jim Murphy. And he talks about this place of wisdom to get to where you are unoffendable and unembarrassable. Wouldn't that be a glorious place to live? I'm getting there. I'm not there yet, but because it's all of what are we going to receive? How am I going to let this affect me? How am I going to interpret what other people are doing externally that I may or may not want to let into my internal world? So we really want to take control of that. And who here would consider themselves an optimist? Any pessimists in the room? Any unsure people? Well, prior to a few decades ago, when Martin Seligman, who is a University of Pennsylvania professor, decided to create and coin the phrase of positive psychology. Psychology before that was only about dysfunction and what was wrong with people. So he started studying, well, how do we make things right? How do we live more optimistically and more positively? And he's even proven through studies that optimistic people, positive people live longer, have less disease, have less illnesses. I mean, sign me up. And I always tell people, because they'll say, well, I was just always a pessimist, or I was always just an optimist. And I'm like, yeah, no, but you're a big boy or a big girl now, and it's actually a choice once you grow up and take the helm and be the director of your mind's eye and of your mental screen. So there's enormous reasons to try to be more optimistic, because your brain and your subconscious will always look for solutions instead of problems if you are more of an optimist. And then what is playing on your internal screen? We have that mind's eye. Everything that you see around you that's not of nature or human was literally once an image on someone's mental screen. And you are all the directors of your mental screen. And it's so powerful that we all know that when someone has that idea, it actually can manifest into a real substance, whether that is a goal or an actual product, something physical. But it all starts with how are we using our mind's eye and what are we visualizing? But the problem is that we're so good at this that it usually works against us. So many of the people that I work with have only seen themselves failing. They'll literally see themselves doing bad on a speech. I had one client that was going to be on a panel as a guest expert. She was invited to be a guest expert. She obviously was invited for a reason. But in her mind, she only saw herself up there freezing, getting nervous, just watching the outcome be what she didn't want to have happen. And I'm like, but you're programming your subconscious right now. It is going to say your wish is my command. So I went through an exercise with her where I narrated from the beginning to the end, her going on that panel, answering Q&A, really knocking it out of the park, right through to getting great feedback after she got off the stage. And do you know what started happening? She started crying during the session. And I was like, tell me what's happening. And she said, this is the first time I've seen myself succeed in my mind's eye. She goes, I only always ever worried about what could go wrong and making a fool of myself or not being enough. This is incredibly powerful, and we just don't realize we've already been using it, but most of the time we're using it against ourselves rather than helping ourselves. So this is the confidence tree method, and I've devised this since I wrote the book a few years ago. And basically, it's an analogy of a tree because I think that we all should have a growth mindset. I mean, it's the only way to live. I hope I keep learning and growing until I'm 103. That's the age that I'm shooting for right now, right? So it's really from the top, from the bottom up. So our soil is our environment, our experiences, our influences, our support system. And, do we need to update our soil? Can we change our soil? Are we stuck in our soil? And then how that affects our roots, which is our self-concept, our value, what we believe is our value, our belief systems, and our habits. And then the trunk is our tools. A lot of stuff that we've been talking about today, our ability to use our mindset and control it and take control of it. There's a heck of a lot that we can control in this world today. The one thing, the real estate that God has given us that is under our complete control is our mind. But we don't realize we're the captain of the ship so many times, and we let it become this monkey mind, and we let it rule us and take over. And it's like, whoa, no. Grab the mic, I work with some comedians, and the one thing that they'll say is that you never give up your mic to somebody else, right? You don't let those hecklers take that. But how many times do we hand that mic to our inner critic instead of our inner coach? and talk to ourselves the way that we would coach people. And these are all things, the emotional regulation, the self-care that's so important. Do we think from our roots, is our self-concept that we are a valuable, irreplaceable human being, which, by the way, we all have just one fingerprint that nobody else in this entire world has. That blows my mind. So you're made to touch the world in only the way that you can as an individual. So does your self-care reflect that and the value that hopefully you have for yourself? And then that goes into our branches, which is our communication skills, our interpersonal skills, our relationship abilities, our actions, or our procrastination, or our inaction. These are all the branches that we reach out to the world with. And then the fruit would be our results, our relationships, our leadership presence, our success. So I think you need to ask yourself, as I do as much as I can, what is the fruit that I want to create in this world in the short time that we all get to be here? And it is short. It goes fast. So the confidence method is designed to help you identify your biggest opportunities of growth. So where do we need to maybe do some work, right? The soil reveals how and where we're rooted. And do we have to stay there? Can we get some fresh soil action happening in our lives? The roots reveal mindset patterns and beliefs and different things that maybe aren't serving us well. And the trunk is skill gaps and habits. And are we really doing some of the things that we know we should be doing that would help us in many ways? And then, of course, roots revealing the branches revealing communication and interpersonal blind spots. And then, of course, that fruit, our impact, our leadership abilities, and relationship architecture. How good are we at connecting with others and growing those relationships? And that's all going to stem back down to what is our relationship with ourselves. So I can't do all of this as such individual one-on-one work. So what I did is I put together a download that you could use that will give you an overview of a lot of the exercises that we did today, and also help you go through with some of these reflection questions to find out and pinpoint, is it something in the soil, the roots, the trunk, or the branches that might need a little TLC? And maybe it's all of them, maybe it's just a couple of them, and it may change at different parts and different times of our lives. But hopefully this can be something that you will find helpful, and I'll bring it up for the Q&A again as well. But we deserve a nervous system that works with us and not against us, which it so much does, and a mindset that supports us, a presence that makes us feel authentic and steady and confident in everything that we're doing. And the confidence method gives you that, I believe, breath by breath, branch by branch, root by root. It's something that I feel is always my sacred work and a privilege to help others communicate confidently, internally and externally, because I remember how hard it was and how debilitating it was to have that kind of social anxiety and low self-esteem when I was younger, and that has served me well always to remember that when I'm working with different people. So confidence is not a personality trait. So many people say, oh, that's just their personality. It's not. It's a practice, just like yoga or meditation or your golf swing, right? We have to do these things on a regular basis for it to really give us the fruit that we are hoping to receive at the end. So when you practice and that common confidence grows together, it helps you feel like that sturdy tree and feel like your roots are like solid. And that's my wish for you today. Thank you so much.